episode 18 of Living Well. I'm so excited about our show today. First and foremost, Heart Theory is officially out. I cannot believe this moment is here. I have waited so long to release this album, and let it be as much of your guys's as it is mine now. And I hope you have enjoyed listening to it over the past few days. If you've had time to check it out, these songs have been my heart and soul over the past few years, and I'm so excited to finally be able to share them with you. I want to know what your favorites are. I want to know what you think of these songs, so write comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and like this video. Sarah Nicole is a woman on a mission to spread the message of self-love to everyone. She's a blogger who runs the wildly successful The Bird's Papaya page, where she blogs about family, life, and self-love. She also shares this story as well as her body positive viewpoint on life on her Bird's Papaya podcast. Please welcome Sarah Nicole. Hi, Sarah.
Hey!
How's it going?
Oh, it is just going. This is like my perpetual life of just traveling from my living room to an office to like my bedroom. It's just like, this is as exciting as it gets. I'm so stoked though.
Girl, I hear you. Yeah, the commute to work has changed a lot.
Just a little. I really, what's so funny though? Like when I go and I look back on what life was before this, what was my biggest complaint was commuting. And now I'm just like, oh, I hate never going anywhere. It's like, wow, we can't be happy. Is essentially what it is.
So true. Be careful what you wish for, as they say.
As they say, and they were right.
They are right. They're usually always right. Well, I have been such a fan of you for so long now. And so I'm so excited to have you on Living Well. Now, for those watching that don't know about your blog, can you give us like a quick little synopsis of what it's about?
Okay, I'm really bad at quick synopsis. Okay.
Or a long synopsis is fine.
Whenever anybody's like, give me an elevator pitch, and I'm like, I will give you around the block and around the corner and back again.
Love it.
I started blogging 12 years ago, actually, and I did it kind of in the pits of motherhood. I was a stay-at-home mom at the time. I only had two little girls, and they were 3 and 1, and their nicknames were Gemma Birdie and Maya Papaya. So they're formed the Birds Papaya because back then, 12 years ago, when you started a blog, you had to have like a really cute name.
Yeah.
Tater tots and Jello and fingerprints on the fridge. And I was like, okay, like this is my cutesy name. And so I ended up just kind of starting by just really wanting to feel a part of something. I was so lonely in motherhood. I felt and I lived 6 hours away from my family, and I just wanted to feel a form of connection. And suddenly I felt like really excited when things were happening in somebody's life and I'd never met them before. And I would be following along on people's journeys through their grief, through their joy. And I really kind of fell in love with it. And so I just kind of decided to be a part of it and to start doing it for myself. And it was atrocious. Like when I look back at it, it was the worst blog, like the worst writing, horrible photography. Nothing I was doing was like hitting any marks, but I showed up doing it every day. And that was kind of the story for so long. But then what happened is we suddenly shifted from being, it was all about like your homes and your kids and like your front porch and your recipes. And then Instagram came about, and it was like the camera faced you. And now you're like looking at yourself. And at the time, I now had 3 kids. I was postpartum. I've been overweight since I was 12. So I'm sitting at 225 pounds, and I'm absolutely miserable that we've now changed the system, and now I'm having to be a part of this. But not only that, I wasn't really participating in a lot of stuff. I had moved back home to my hometown. I was scared to leave my house. I was scared to like do anything with my kids. I was petrified of having my photo taken, all of these things. So I was just like, you know what? I'm going to lose weight. I'm done having kids. Like, this is the time to do it. And I didn't have access to, or even like money access or like car access or childcare access to doing anything in a way that, would be recommended. So I did what a lot of people end up doing, which is downloading an app and just exercising in whatever way I could. What ended up happening was that app didn't know my body, didn't know who I was, didn't know anything, and basically provided me information that caused me to feed my body as if I was a toddler. It was deeply disordered. It was very much under eating. And because I had no limitations on what exercise should look like, I was driving my body into the ground. But I didn't see that. All I saw and all I felt and all I was receiving was compliments. Like, this is so great, because we see that's what we think is like happening, right? We should congratulate people. People are transforming. It's hard work. We should be able to say things like this. But what actually was happening was not really true. So after years, I'd gone down to quite underweight and had to really face that now I have disordered eating. My picture perfect family doesn't exist. I'm now going through a divorce. I'm a single mom living at her parents' house. And I realized that in all of this, I kind of been lying to myself and to this entire audience of people that weight loss somehow made me happy, because the reality was I was still anxious to leave my house. I still didn't want to be in photos. I still didn't want to show up at the beach with my kids. It had nothing to do with my body. And this is 100 pounds later, actually more than 100 pounds. I was like a size 0 and like 114 pounds at 5'8". I was very, very thin, but I didn't see myself as that. I just saw myself as a problem to fix. I wanted to get myself into that after photo where you see that sad woman holding up a newspaper and then she's like happy and cheerful and like, look at my body, I feel so great. Yeah. I couldn't get there. And so that's where really, I believe the Birds of Papaya actually started to get born, is kind of 10 years into it is when I started to stop trying out of pure exhaustion, just stop trying to be what I thought everybody wanted of me, and just this picture perfect human. And instead, what would happen if I showed up authentically as myself and really talked about my feelings and really talked about my body and removed a lot of these shame factors? What would happen? And what happened was I actually started living my life, and I actually stopped thinking so much about my body. And here we are. It resonated with a lot of people. And I'm so excited that we get to have these conversations now to kind of push back on the narratives that perhaps we grew up on.
Absolutely. That's so beautiful. I mean, when I read what you write, you're just so prolific. And I know, I mean, as a fellow writer, like when you can tap into those depths of honesty within yourself, like you're just channeling something else all of a sudden. But did you ever go to school for writing? Or is it just something that came naturally to you?
Yeah, that's the funny part. It wasn't even really naturally, I wouldn't say per se. It was a lot of practice. But what happened was in therapy, my therapist was like, Sarah, you don't have an opinion. I'm like, sure, I have opinions. She's like, no, you have other people's opinions that you sponge. You're a sponge. You need to learn to start hearing yourself and start making your own opinions. And so in that process, I started really just being more self-aware. And I think when you're more self-aware, you can't even believe some of your thoughts. Like, and you don't realize how in depth some of them are and how flighty some of them are, but they were just so used to just thoughts go in and out, but capturing them, I kind of got obsessed with it. So I started really changing the way I made content. Before I was like, here's a cute picture, Google an inspirational quote to put with it, and then I would post it and leave. But then I started really like writing myself emails really late at night when these thoughts would really flow in really, really clear. I started being more aware of the fact that if you didn't write it down the moment it was happening, it would be lost. It would kind of be gone. So I started doing caption forward content, which was a lot more kind of the roots of everything. And the photos, while maybe have some shock value to them or some like eye-catching moments, I think the words is what really ended up being the thing that captured people. And I think I love the fact that I can say it's in us. I think we're all inherently writers. I think we're all inherently some form of a storyteller, but we just don't know it until we start doing it, until you start practicing it and you start hearing that voice inside and allowing it to translate to paper or to email or to the notes in your iPhone, however you do it.
Absolutely. I mean, self-awareness is a journey I feel we will be on for the rest of our lives, and hopefully on for the rest of our lives.
Yes,
Keep digging deeper, the next level after the next level. But was there one or maybe several aha moments where you just felt like something clicked and you were like, whoa, I need to change up the way I've been thinking about things?
Yeah.
Like, was there one specifically where you just remember like that day being like, okay, this is going to change the rest of my life?
Yeah. It was actually a really strange, I think a lot of women have this. We have these like zones that we don't let our partners touch. Like we're just like, that is a no-go. You know it. Almost everybody has it.
move up or like,
yeah, no, you don't get to, no, there's like, there's the no zones. So mine was my stomach. Now I'm remarried. So I started dating as a single mom with 3 kids. I've got stretch marks up to my rib cage. I have loose skin from weight loss and from having, you know, also large babies. And my stomach was a no-go zone, because if I lay on my side, it's similar to like a melted ice cream cone, and I'm fine with that. But at the time I wasn't. But there was just like, that was a no-go. Don't touch there. Everything else, like, I don't really care. But my husband's a bit of a snuggler, and he knew that this was a no-go zone. And one night went to go kind of like spoon me and hug me, and he touched my stomach, and we both like flinched. It was like this moment of, oh, that didn't just happen. And it was more like I was just mortified. And I think he was like, oh crap, like I feel like I've crossed a line. I don't know what he felt, but I'll get us there. But I ended up just in that moment, I took his hand and I put it back. And not only did I put it to my stomach, I put it to my bare stomach. And I laid there, and the tears just like were flowing down my face, because it hit me that all of this time, what I'd been doing was telling myself that because of the way I looked, or because of the circumstances of my body, I didn't deserve to be held. And my husband, all he wanted to do was hold me. So that I was truly actually not only holding myself back from like intimacy with somebody, I was holding him back too. And so we laid there, he had his hand on my stomach. I'm like weeping onto my pillow, facing away from him, but just weeping silently. And I remember after the morning after it happened, I wrote it all down, and I took a picture of my belly kind of like laying on its side, and I wrote down what happened. And it was one of the most touching, like I cried while like writing it again. I cried while reliving it. And then my husband, he's like, I had written it and I didn't post it for quite some time. So I probably posted it maybe 6 months after it happened. And I was saying, I'm like, this post like really resonated with people. I didn't realize how many people are really like ripping themselves from like intimacy because of like these no-go zones that we have with our bodies and the shame that we carry. Mm-hmm. And he's like, yeah, I don't remember that night whatsoever. And I was like,
what?
Really? So here, it was the biggest deal in my head. And he was just like, I don't even know. I don't remember. And it was funny after that. It was like, do you remember like, when we were dating and stuff, I'd always like walk backwards out of the room or like wear t-shirts. And he was like, maybe, I don't know. It's like, we make, and I was like, oh my gosh, I've been literally narrating for this man what I've assumed he's been thinking of me, and all he's seen is me. All he wants is me. All he wants to hug me. I deserve to be hugged.
Here, and our vision of what people see in us is like so different.
So different. So it's really just, he's been said that would be a big one for me, because after that I was like, screw it. Yeah, there's still days where I'm like, I'm feeling insecure about my stomach. I don't want to do this or whatever. But most of the time I'm just like, whatever. Now I just get to be hugged. Like now I just get to enjoy this relationship and just like appreciate that my body is worthy of that. Right. So that would be a really, really big one. The only other one I would really touch on is the fact that waking up to the fact that you don't get to kind of redo life and memories. And I think a lot of us have this internal thought of, I will do life when I just lose a little bit more weight, then I'll buy that dress, then I'll go on that vacation, then I'll do this, then I'll get out there dating, then I'll apply for that job, then I'll write that book proposal, whatever it is. We have this like, I will do this when I am this. But what happens is that just leaves us in the stagnancy of life. And when we recognize that we are actually worthy of stepping into our life at every stage, at every ebb and flow, that really changes things. And I don't really get to get back my kids' childhood. I don't get to get back those days when we went to the beach. They're gone. They're gone. So all I can do is move forward. And even in fear, even in times where it doesn't feel good, show up and do whatever it takes to just be present in these moments, to show up for those social events that maybe I feel, that imposter syndrome about, where I feel like I'm not worthy of being there, and just freaking doing it, just like stepping into it as much as possible. Because every time it's not about what I looked like, it's the fact that I got to make those memories and I got to have those experiences. So those would be the two really big ones that have really hit me, that have really just truly changed my life and the perspective I carry.
Whew, girl, That's so beautiful. I'm guilty as charged on the, well, I will do this when. Well, when I win a Grammy Award, then I can finish the rest of my life. Then I can focus on the rest of my life. And it's just like, you're right. It is so just suffocating in so many ways. And you can't truly show up for your job, for your family, for your life that you are focusing on, the things that you're focusing on. You can't really show up and be you when you're holding back half of your potential because of what you think you don't have time for.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think like that's one thing too, is we all think that when we hit a certain thing, that's when happiness begins, and that maybe we've just held ourselves off. So that was me with weight loss. I just thought my whole life, it's just because I'm not thin that I'm not happy. It's just because of this that I'm not happy. Well, what happens when I actually got thin and it didn't make me happy? Now I regained weight and I feel so much happier because I have like an inner happiness. And there's even things like, take social media, for example, or like music, and the fact that we think it's all about the numbers. Like, when I just hit this number, I will feel better about it. Or when I just have this much money in the bank account, then I will feel secure. And I don't think that comes. Like, I don't know that ever truly exists. And I think sometimes I love the episode of Friends where Rachel had been working at the coffee shop for 5 years, and Joey and Chandler are like, you just don't have the fear in you. You need the fear in you to chase after your dreams. So the best way you can do it is by quitting your job. And so she quits her job, and then she panics because she's got nothing. She's scrambling to find a job, but because she has this fear in her, she ends up going and getting like her dream, like one of her dream jobs and stuff, right? Like, at least it's starting the thing, because she'd always been waiting until she had a certain thing. And they were like, what, you're good now. Like, you deserve to do this now. And I think we just do it so often. We do two things. We hold ourselves back, and then we feel like we need to get to a certain place to feel happiness, not recognizing that we can actually feel happiness in every circumstance. I've had no money to my name and like living at my parents' house without a car, without a bank account, with like not even like a good job or anything. And I was happy. Like, that's good for me, because now I'm like, everything that you add into life, the blessings that come, like getting married, having a new home, all of these things, I'm like, yeah, they're great, but they're not my happiness. They're just stuff. Like, it's just accessories of life. Maybe they're comforts, maybe it's style, maybe there's these different things, but that's not actually true happiness. My body is, there's this page called Beauty Redefined, and they have this quote that says, my body is an instrument, not an ornament. And I think the more that I repeat that, the more I realize, like, you're right. I'm not here to just be an ornament for society. I actually exist for much bigger things. And those much bigger things are going to be putting on a damn bikini and going to the beach with my kids, because that's what feels good. And that's the most comfortable bathing suit for me, or however it is. Right. Or it means putting on a big parka, because that's what I know will make me not think about my body that day when I'm struggling, and still go and show up at the beach and have a great time.
Amen, sister. I mean, our happiness cannot be defined in other things, and really other people. Like, we cannot even define our own happiness in our loved ones. I mean, yes, our loved ones can bring us happiness, but we need to find our happiness in here, because everything else is just changing elements that will always be changing.
Absolutely. And I think that's what's so fascinating when we talk about self-love. Everyone talks about it like, and when we hear about self-love, we think it's a feeling like, oh, I would really love to have that feeling. I'd really love to have self-love. But when you look at every other relationship in your life, you don't have these, like, I don't look at my mom and have these like overwhelming swells of like, gosh, I just love you more than anything, and you're my whole world, and like, I feel so good and I love how you look. I don't look at my husband and I'm like, gosh, I just love how attractive you are, and like, that's what makes me so happy. Right. No, it's none of those things. And so yet, why do we go step into our own relationships with ourselves, and we expect to have overwhelming feelings of joy around it all the time? We forget that love is actually an action word. So it's meaning more like, how do I show up for myself today? How do I love in a way that is like tangible? And also recognizing that what we look like is so secondary to why people love us. And when we start recognizing why we love other people, and recognize that their bodies aren't landing even in like the top 10 of the list. Like, we don't marry people because they have a good body. We don't stay in long-term relationships because they got a really good head of hair. Nope. Like, no, or a great job.
Or old in 2 weeks. Like, don't get me wrong. I love a man with nice abs. Don't get me wrong. But that gets old after 2 weeks.
Like, that doesn't make him have a personality that you like,
I want to
that
be
jives with you.
Up on a Saturday morning and have a conversation with him.
Yes.
And feel like seen.
Yeah. So when we have love in our lives and we've experienced it, or even the way you look at your children and you're like, it has nothing to do with these conditions that we've put on ourselves that we feel other people find us worthy of love for. And so that's been huge for me. It's just kind of just changing the way that I think and become aware of how I experience love, knowing that, you know, my relationship with mothers are a great example because their parents or siblings, they really show up for you in action because they're like, it's not necessarily obligation anymore, but like there's so much tangible action in family relationships oftentimes. And like in dating relationships, you know, like the butterflies come and go, but like the showing up and respect for each other, that's what makes it kind of thrive and survive. So how do we do that for us? How do we flip it and start dating ourselves, start getting to know what we like, and recognizing that all those other relationships are variables. They're not guaranteed for the rest of time, but the one with yourself is. That's the only one that you get guaranteed in this life. So it's kind of important that we maybe should take care of that one and maybe should love on it a little bit so that we are better people to love on others.
Absolutely. Now, you have an incredible podcast. And as far as topics, I mean, I know this, but you focus a lot on this kind of dialogue. Is there a specific episode that you would recommend somebody to start with?
Oh, that's so fascinating. We've had some like really good ones. I feel like one of my favorites was actually like better sex through mindfulness and recognizing that women are truly holding themselves back because of the dialogues that are going on in our heads. That was a really big one for me. I've had so many different women of different walks of life. We've had women who have escaped human trafficking share their stories on like forgiveness and, you know, things with their bodies since that. We've had fitness people from the plus size world. We've had fitness people from, you know, the standard like rock hard abs world. And it's really, I just love this collective of conversations and thoughts that really just peek open the door on what it means to be a human being and peeking open the door on some of these things that I think traditionally we felt a lot of shame for in the past. So I don't know, I'm a bit of a curious person. So I just love having really curious conversations and having it tie in a way that even if it doesn't apply to you, you end up feeling really like you're a better support system to somebody who might be going through these things. And if not, then you've probably pulled something away for yourself or just even a curious conversation that makes you just think a little bit more next time.
Absolutely. Well, Sarah, I so appreciate you spending a few minutes with us today. Everybody needs to check out the blog, the podcast, the Birds Papaya. You're just such a light on the screen. It is so wonderful to meet you. And I hope next time I can ever tour again, maybe I can meet you in person.
Oh my gosh, that'd be so fun. Thank you so much. This has been absolutely amazing.
Thanks.
She is such an inspiration. She's just such a ray of light. Sarah, thank you for coming on Living Well. All right, guys, it's now time for one of our favorite times of the week, the Wellisms of the week. Wellism number 1. A 2-year-old mixed German Shepherd police dog knocked his first day on the job out of the park. He put his training into action, locating a mother and her baby on his very first operational shift. When the woman and her child were reported missing, they hadn't been seen or heard from for 2 days. Max and his handler officer, Peter Lloyd, covered significant distance, and the young German Shepherd ended up seeking out the mom and the baby near a steep ravine on a mountainside. Oh my goodness, Max, good job. That's some good dog training. My goodness, first shift. Wellism number 2. The North Aral Sea was once the 4th largest freshwater lake on Earth. Starting in the 1960s, the sea shrank dramatically, though, after the rivers it fed were diverted by Soviet irrigation projects. This led to an increased salinity problem and the die-off of several fish species. The North Aral Sea has been undergoing an ecological resurgence over the past 15 years. An 8-mile dam was built along with repaired dikes to help raise water levels that actually impacted the level of the lake by 11 feet in only 7 short months. This has proven to be the catalyst of an incredible resurgence of local fish stocks, and in addition has led to a reduction in local disease rates from formerly contaminated drinking water. This is the perfect evidence that anthropogenic ecological damage can directly be reversed by human intervention. That's incredible. I love clean lakes. I love clean drinking water. So cool. All right, guys, wELLism number 3. Anthony Misoma Madu is an 11-year-old Nigerian boy who loves to dance. When the Academy Award-winning actress Viola Davis saw a video of Anthony dancing online, she tweeted, "Reminds me of the beauty of my people. We create, soar, can imagine, have unleashed passion and love. Despite the brutal obstacles that have been put in front of us, our people can fly." The video ended up going viral, and Cynthia Harvey, the artistic director at the American Ballet Theater in New York City, also saw the video. When she watched it, she was amazed by Anthony's skills and decided to offer him a scholarship. They've currently organized internet access at home for Anthony so he can take virtual lessons immediately from the Academy. That is so awesome. Watch a video of Anthony here.
Where I live, there are no male ballet dancers like me. When people see ballet, they think it's only for girls. They don't know that it's not only for girls. How I want them to see me is when I'm dancing, they know that there is a male ballet dancer. My name is Madu Mesama Anthony. I dance ballet because I love dancing. The feelings that comes over me, as if I'm dreaming. When my teacher told me that plenty people have seen my video, I was very, very happy. I'm always dancing. Dance is just part of my life. I want to be a Nigerian professional ballet dancer.
He is so talented. You guys, thank you so much for tuning in to episode 18 of Living Well. I love you so much. Thank you for showing me all of the support for Heart Theory. Be sure to share it with your friends and let people know to check out this new album. This has been my heart and soul, and I'm so happy you can listen to it. I love you guys. We'll see you next week.